Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of TalkToProfit.com, and today I want to talk to you about this is a question I want to ask you. Have you settled for what other people expect of you? And what I mean by this is it's easy to get in ruts and into patterns of doing stuff. It's the way the brain is best designed so you do things in the most efficient way possible. You get into habits, you get into ruts. Now, those habits can be good, but oftentimes they are not for your betterment. They might be what keeps you where you are, and so that is stable, but it's not for your best. It's not really where you want to go. And if you keep doing that, you can never attain any higher level because you're only where you are. And there can be expectations put upon you by other people, whether it be family members or friends or your spouse or your kids even, where you kind of conform to a way that people expect you to be. But oftentimes those ideas that they might have for you can be very limiting. And if that's the most you can attain to, you're going to be hindered in life from doing the things you can do, from being the best you could possibly be. You know, there's a passage of scripture where Jesus talks about that if we believe in him, we can do the same works he does and even greater works than these because he goes to his Father. And oftentimes people only think about that in regards to miracles and salvation and things they deem as to be sanitized spiritual things. Or maybe not sanitized, maybe sanctified would be a better word for it. But business? Oh, no, that can't be it. But I'm here to tell you that business is a spiritual activity. Think about it. Your business is not engaged with just robots. You're not going and talking to trees. You're dealing with other individuals, other human beings. You're either selling them products or services, and it is a very spiritual engagement. And that's why people with low moral character, they engage in unethical things. Their business involves things like selling drugs or things that harm other people. We need to be able to recognize that all areas of our life should be excelling. Now, I talk a lot about business because one of the main points that I talk about a lot is profiting, because so many people's issues in life directly go back to and could be solved by an increase in finances. Finances are not the only thing that matters in life, of course not. But for so many people, an increase in finances would fix their problems. And other problems that they're having that aren't directly finance related are caused by the lack of finances. So many marriages are having issues and fights and problems directly caused by a lack of resources. But here's the thing. If you keep going through life living up to other people's expectations, the low expectations they have for you, you're going to keep getting all the same problems you're currently getting, and maybe worse ones. Because most often people do not get any better unless they're actively engaged in trying to get better, taking steps each and every day to get better, learning and growing and improving and tweaking things here and there. If they're not doing that, they're not going to get better. It just doesn't happen normally. There are cases where somebody has a dramatic event, a car wreck or heart attack or something like that, and then they start reforming their ways. But that's not the way you should want to go through life. You have to have some big traumatic event to get you to change and improve. How about instead of waiting for that bad thing to happen, you start taking the steps right here and now to get the good results you want in life? And one of the ways you can start is by not getting involved in conforming to other people's expectations for you. Unless their expectations are great. Maybe children's expectations might really be the best for you. They might really expect you can do anything. But in most cases, people have expectations of you that are kind of in line with what you've already been doing, which may not be the greatest. Maybe you have been doing great, and their expectations for you are that you'll do even better. Maybe that's good. But in most cases, the expectations are pretty low, and part of it is because other people don't want to have high expectations for you, because then you might require it from them as well. And so many people are so apathetic about their own lives, they're not going to take much more interest in your life. So the apathy is pretty much across the board. They're going to be pretty apathetic about what you do or don't do. Doesn't matter to them. They don't even care about what they do in their own lives. They're in the same rut. So what would they care if you're in a rut? They probably don't even notice it. Just like, that's normal life. That's what everybody's supposed to do. Is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be in this rut. You're supposed to be in debt. You're supposed to have this problem. You're supposed to get fatter as you get older. You're supposed to get sick as you get older. You're supposed to have this problem and that problem. No, that's not biblical. That's not what God has for you. God has great plans for you, but the only limitation of that is not God, it's you. You choose to conform to their will for you, other people's will for you, and live that lowly standard of living? Or do you choose to have the high expectations that God has for you and to live up to that and to conform to His will? Because listen, the will of God is not going to keep you poor. The will of God is not going to keep you sick. The will of God is not going to keep you sad or depressed or miserable. None of those things are the will of God. I go back to this time and time again, but it's so valuable because so many people know the Lord's Prayer, but they don't believe a word of it. But if you believed it, Jesus told you God's perfect will is that what's going on in heaven, the no pain, the no tears, the no illness, the no poverty, the no lack, is what you should be praying for on earth. It's what you should be believing for on earth. And if you're not experiencing that, then it means you're out of the will of God. Now, I'm not saying that's an attack on you. It's to hopefully make you wake up and say, wait, I've never considered it that way. If I'm not having heaven on earth, then I must not be in God's will, and I need to get in prayer and fasting and figure out His will. And I mentioned fasting, but that's so important to note. So many people are ruled by their flesh. I had an individual telling me about this problem and that problem, and all they talk about all day long is food. And I asked them, when is the last time you fasted? Because it's so plainly obvious that they are carnally minded. They're so focused on food and eating and comfort and ease that the things of the Spirit are far gone from them. And of course their life's not going the way they want. How could it when you're carnally minded? To be carnally minded is death. Too many people think carnally minded only revolves around sin issues. But it's everything carnally minded, including your flesh. If you're just focused on feeding your flesh, lounging around your flesh, relaxing your flesh, you're carnally minded, my friend. And so this is important to note. You need to take steps today so you're not conforming to the world, you're not conforming to other people's low expectations of you, but you are conforming to the highest expectations that could possibly be in your life, those of God. And you are seeking His will in your life, the will of heaven being on earth. And so really I encourage you today, my friend, focus on this. Get in prayer, fast, seek God's will. If your life is not perfect, if your life is not heaven on earth, start seeking His will today and conform to it. It might be something very simple that you're not doing, and you'll just have that imparted into your mind. Take action on that and watch as you start to conform to His will, and you stop conforming to the will of others who have low expectations for you. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.